Welcome to the first ever episode of Ode to Ghosts, a podcast where we take your scary, spooky, paranormal stories, break them down, create our theories about them, and just shed some light on them. My name is William, Billiam, whatever you want to call me. I am co-host number 1 or number 2, depending on the day.
And I'm co-host number 2 or co-host number 1, depending on the day. Audrey. It's just Audrey. We have 4 stories today. 2 are from Reddit. 1 is an email write-in, and we've got one from a friend as well. So
We also
got lots
have
of variety today.
a third co-host.
This is Schmitty. He will probably be in every single episode.
He's a bona fide co-host.
Yeah. All right.
Shall we
get
jump
to the
into
first
the
story?
first story?
All right. This one comes from Reddit, and it comes from Angelic Realm 888 is the username. And we did get permission from everybody to share these stories. So the title is Sleep Paralysis or Paranormal Encounter.
Which one?
Which one? He answers it in the first line. This story is not about sleep paralysis, although it has some elements that could be attributed to it. This all happened on January 1st, 1996. I had come home from college for winter break for the first time since starting school. It was good to be home. On New Year's Eve, my brother and I went to a party at a friend's house, not too far from ours. We ended up staying early into the next day, had a few drinks, but mostly had a great time chatting with people I had not seen in a while. It was a little bit after dawn when we finally walked back home. Once we got there, my mom was up in the kitchen making some breakfast. It was a bit unusual that she would be up this early on a holiday, but I did not think much of it at the time. After chit-chatting for a bit, I made my way to my bedroom, got out of my clothes, and into bed. My bedroom was small, so it was quite cramped. As you opened the door and walked in, the first thing you would see right in front of you would be a large dresser with a rectangular mirror, a hand-me-down from when my parents got new furniture. The dresser took up most of the space. To the right, you would find a small desk with the old-school Panasonic alarm clock that everyone seemed to own at one point or another, with red LED display. In front of the desk, there would be my single bed. The bed was set up in such a way that I could always see the time on the alarm clock in the mirror when I was lying there.
She's really setting the scene right now.
Mm-hmm. You have to. As I was beginning to drift away, a strong wind paralyzed me. I could hear its howling in my ears, and I shut my eyes as a reflex. Here's where the story, I believe, differs from sleep paralysis, which I have also experienced several times. Schmitty is now on my lap. Okay. Quick intermission.
Get down, cat.
Okay. After what seemed to be an eternity under the effect of this wind, I managed to open my eyes. Through the mirror, I could see an entity standing in front of the door.
Mm-hmm.
It was dark, so I could not make out any facial features. It was human in form, but it had a deformed head, its shape indescribable, and I was scared. Although I could open my eyes, I could not move my head to look at the entity. I could only look in the direction my head already was. Then I clearly noticed that the time on the alarm clock went from 6:14 a.m. to 6:15 a.m. A few seconds later, as sudden as it had come, the wind and the entity disappeared, and I regained my mobility. I tried to make sense of what had happened, but I did not get up. After calming down, I went back to sleep and did not wake up until midday. Personally, I would not be able to go back to sleep so casually after seeing that and having wind in my room.
Hold on. What's the timeline of this? She went back to sleep midday.
I think this might be a he. I'm not sure. But
Sorry,
either way, they got back home from the friend's house like really early in the morning. They were up all night talking and drinking and stuff. So this is at like 6 a.m.
Ugh.
Like they were like just going back to going to sleep.
So
yeah, so it's like
it's
not the middle of the night.
It's not always the devil's hour.
Mm-mm.
Which also honestly creeps me out more.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, you're expecting and you're like on your guard. But if it's just like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're like,
yeah, you're not thinking that anything
it's time
scary is
for
gonna
a
happen.
beautiful day.
It's probably light outside. It's probably sun shining into his room.
That's honestly, I want to say that's more scary, but then if it happened at night, I'd probably be
yeah, no,
more scared.
definitely be more scary at 3 a.m. All right, continue on. When I woke up, the memory of the earlier event was still fresh. I shrugged it off as a bad dream, but it bothered me that I distinctly remembered the time in the alarm clock changing. To my surprise, when I went to the kitchen to grab some food, my mom and stepdad were there, all dressed up. That is when my mom announced that my great aunt, who had been battling cancer for some time, had passed away the previous night, and that they were heading for the funeral. I was saddened by the news. I had not been close to her, but I was close to her younger son, who was around my age, and with her husband, my great uncle, who was a successful executive and someone I had always looked up to. I told my parents that I wanted to go to the funeral. Since they were in no rush, I had breakfast, then showered and put on a shirt and tie, and then we left for the funeral home. When I got there, I noticed that they had an open casket and people were going over to it to pay their respects. I had been to several open casket funerals before, but the only other time I had mustered the courage to look at the deceased person was when I went to my elementary school principal's funeral several years before. After greeting some relatives and friends, I made my way to the casket, and there I got the big shock. Due to the cancer treatment, my great aunt had lost her hair, so she was wearing an elaborate head wrap with flowers on it. Its layout was the same as I had seen on the entity earlier that day. It made sense.
She was it.
Yeah, she was it. She was the entity.
That makes it worse, but also better. Like, just whenever things connect like that, it freaks me out.
Yeah, well, there's a little
So
bit more
much
to the
more.
story, and then we can discuss what we think it might have been. I prayed for a few minutes over her casket and said my goodbyes. I was quite disturbed and shocked, so I did not stay for the rest of the funeral, and I headed home. I replayed the morning's incident in my mind over and over. Did my great aunt visit me to say goodbye? It was strange that she would have, since we were not close, as I had mentioned before. What about the wind? Could it be sleep paralysis that coincided with her visitation? So many doubts to this day. To be honest, I was scared when it happened. I have gone through many paranormal events in my life, but I had been calm and not felt fear, for a lack of a better word, from the experiences. That morning on New Year's Day in 1996, I was afraid.
Is that the end of the story
Yep.
now? You really hit us with a banger to start off
I know.
the podcast in general.
I know, it's a good one. Something that I was thinking is that, like, the question of, like, why did she visit him if they weren't close makes me think that, like, he's just very, like, open spiritually. You know, like, he may have been, like,
Like he's a believer of...
Yeah, like, he may have been, like, the only, or, like, one of the only family members that she could reach, maybe?
I feel like that's what happens to me because, or no, quite the opposite, actually. I like to tell myself that I am a believer of, like, the paranormal and stuff, but I really feel like my brain shuts off just subconsciously to that stuff because I know I don't want to, like, experience something like that. And that's something about me. Like, I have never really had any paranormal experiences at all. And
I've had quite a few.
And so, I don't know, like, I just keep waiting for the day that something finally happens and I'm not expecting it. Just because I am so closed-minded to it.
Well, I don't think you're closed-minded. It might just be the thing, like how I just said, like, maybe you're just not, like, spiritually open to it, you know? Like, maybe you just don't have, like, the ability, or, like, I mean, maybe it's your brain, like, subconsciously blocking that out. I don't know.
Yeah, because, I mean, I've had family members pass away more than I would like to in the last few years. Not to turn it into a sob story, but, like, my grandfather, for example, at my grandparents' house, like, there would be times I would go downstairs and there's this recliner he would always sit in, and I would always expect to walk down there in the middle of the night and see him sitting in that chair. But that and, like, anything of the sort has never really happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, Redditor, for your loss as well. It's tough.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the first story.
Good start.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a natural. This is great.
All right. Do you have your
Do
story
you want me to
prepared?
read mine, or do you just want to do both of yours? Okay, I'll read
You
mine.
can go ahead and read yours.
We'll give you a break. So, my first story also comes from a Redditor. It's the first approved story I've gotten so far. And I really think you're going to get a kick out of this one. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Because, okay, well, first of all, it comes from the Redditor u/internal warfare.
Okay.
And
I'm
the
gonna
title,
Open this. I'm gonna open this.
yeah, sponsor us. Liquid Death.
Look
This
at
is
that.
a show about ghosts and death and stuff, and I think this would be great.
Yes. And I do have a story about liquid death and how it saved my life one time.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to that.
That's for another time.
Okay, great. So this title is My Great Grandma's House Built on an Indian Graveyard.
Ooh.
Yeah.
This is a good one. I already know.
I figured you would light up when you heard that one. All right. I can't mumble too much. It goes like this.
Okay.
My great-grandma's house sat on top of an old cemetery. Growing up, my mom, aunts, and uncles often spoke of strange occurrences. Flickering lights, fleeting shadows, handprints appearing on beds. We've heard about that a lot recently, I feel like. And it's never something I've considered being like a mark of something paranormal. Like specifically on beds.
Handprints on beds?
Mm-hmm.
Where did I remember hearing about that too? Where did we hear that?
I feel like it was another podcast.
Yeah.
Shout out to whatever podcast that was. Anyway.
I can't remember what it was.
Fleeting shadows, handprints appearing on beds, objects moving on their own.
Oh, sorry. I think I just remembered. Was it Basement Yard?
Was it Basement Yard?
I think it might have been.
Shout out Basement Yard.
Yeah. Shout out Basement Yard.
Basement Yard. Nothing that could be easily explained, but always unsettling. It wasn't until I was 12 that I had my own experience, one I could never shake. My aunt and I were like siblings, just 4 years apart. Summers at my great-grandma's house were filled with swimming, bike rides, tea parties, and late nights, with no time wasted in front of the TV. But one evening, after our grandparents had gone to bed, we decided to break the routine and watch some television. You rascals. The living room was cozy, with the couch against one wall, a fireplace with a mirror above it, a fireplace with a mirror above it across from it, and the TV to the left. Beyond that, through the open wall, you could see the kitchen to the right and the dining room to the left. I got up to grab snacks, and as I passed through the narrow space where the hallway and dining room met, I glanced into the mirror. It's all about mirrors, dude, and I hate them.
Mm-hmm.
I glanced into the mirror above the fireplace. It's also worse when it's above a fireplace, I feel like, for some reason.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen a mirror above a fireplace before.
I don't know. In the reflection, I saw a girl standing in the doorway to the kitchen. Her long black hair cascaded down her face, and she wore a long white nightgown. What movie is that? I'm not a horror buff.
The Grudge.
The Grudge? I didn't even know that was a movie.
Like the long-haired...
Like you can't see her face?
Yeah.
She like crawls on all fours? Ugh, I'm not sleeping tonight. I lost my place.
As
That's
one does.
okay. As one does when they
That
don't
happened to
read.
me earlier too.
It's okay. Her long black hair cascaded down her face, and she wore a long white nightgown. She stood perfectly still, her presence sending a chill through me, as one would have chills at that time. I stared for what felt like forever, frozen in fear, until I finally snapped out of it. My heart raced as I ran back to the couch and told my aunt what I'd seen. She wasn't surprised, as she'd had her own eerie experiences in that house, including strange handprints and impressions on the bed at night. Needless to say, I didn't sleep well that night. Yeah, I can imagine. The next morning, we woke to an empty house. A first. Grandma and Grandpa had never left us alone there before. We found a note from Grandma saying they'd gone to the store and would be back soon. To pass the time, we decided to watch TV again, though neither of us had any idea how to operate the remote controls. After some trial and error, I managed to get the TV on Cartoon Network, goated channel, and we sat down to watch. But only a few minutes passed before the screen suddenly turned to static. I fumbled with the remotes, pressing buttons frantically, but the only one that seemed to work was the volume up button, which made the static grow louder and louder. Panicked, I tried to turn it off, but nothing worked. Then, through the static, came a voice, soft, raspy, and undeniably female. "I know who you are," quoted.
That's so scary. There was one time when I was younger where my TV also did like a static thing just out of nowhere. Like it was working completely fine. And then it got all staticky and scary and loud
Like, I
for a
know
period
that
of time. So that's always freaked me out, the static on the TV.
that's another thing for me when, like, objects are interacted with is, like, I'm always trying to, like, find the logical, scientific reason for why it's happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of do as well. I mean, I think I was like 8 years old. Well, no, I was older than that. I was probably like 11. But yeah. Oh, this is our fourth co-host,
We have a lot of co's.
Ned, also known as
Thomas Edison,
yep, or
Ned Zeppelin.
Ned Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was one night where the TV literally just, I was watching Disney Channel and there was no like power outage or Wi-Fi outage. There wasn't a storm or anything, and all of a sudden the TV went static for like 5 minutes straight. And it wasn't a TV that ever did that either, so it wasn't normal. And then it just went back to normal like nothing ever happened. And that's just one of the many things that happened in that room.
Shivers
But
down my spine.
yeah, that house was built in the 1890s, so there will be lots of stuff said about it in the future. Cause
Stay tuned for that because
yeah,
the stories she has are like
that's just one of the little things.
like I
but
never experienced anything directly there, but the stories you've told me have like mentally affected me permanently. Anyway,
yeah, let's get back to the story.
yeah. So I'll go back a little bit. Then through the static came a voice, soft, raspy, and undeniably female. "I know who you are." I froze. My heart skipped a beat. I turned to my aunt, or aunt, depending where you live. Breathless. "Did you hear that?" She nodded, her face pale. "It's the girl from last night," I said tearfully. I started to panic, covering my ears, rocking back and forth in the chair. I'd probably do the same. My aunt, equally shaken, unplugged the TV, and the noise stopped instantly. We sat in stunned silence for a while, processing what had just happened. After a moment, I decided to try and debunk it. We plugged the TV back in, and it came on normally, showing the amazing world of Gumball.
That's what I was hoping they were watching when I thought of Cartoon Network. That's
You were
the show
thinking
I
about
thought
that?
of. Yes.
That was one that I never watched.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, I checked the program guide. Nothing made sense. The static had started in the middle of a commercial, and none of the shows or movies listed explained the voice we'd heard. What's more, the remote worked fine now, including the volume down button. To this day, I'm left wondering who or what that voice was. Why did it say it knew me? What did it want? Was it a warning, a trap, or something else entirely? I'll never know for sure, but I can say this. After that night, I know I'm no longer a skeptic. However, a lot of people in the comments are skeptics. And the reason we have this whole thing is to try and be devil's advocate for even things that like may seem a little too extreme. But
yeah, that one is really scary. Like the fact that the remote wouldn't work and like only let her just turn it up louder.
Yeah.
Ew,
I think
that's
I had
gross.
messages. Yeah, I definitely talked to them about this
Did they provide more
directly.
details?
That's what I'm trying to remember. They said that they were going to send me pictures, like generic pictures of what the home looked like so we could like picture what was going on. Never did. It's okay.
Well,
We've-
you could try messaging again and see if they respond in time.
But the last thing they said was, I've been back twice, but nothing strange. I only visited during the day and didn't spend the night there again. But my aunt had a few experiences over the years prior to my experience where she felt someone sit on the edge of the bed while we were sleeping. And another time saw a hand impression on the bed during the day that didn't come from either of us or my grandparents. My mom had experiences there as well when she was a teen with lights flickering, things getting knocked off of the bathroom counter. So yeah, that house is definitely just riddled with
extremely, extremely haunted.
bad energy. And I won't be going there personally. I honestly don't even know if I want you to send me the pictures anymore because
I
that
want to
could
see the pictures.
that could also cause a problem. But yeah, I said that there were a lot of skeptics. There's literally just one comment on here because it's not that big of a post.
Is it like the top comment though?
Yeah, but the top comment is this whole thing made up? And then OP said, no, it's entirely real. My aunt was there and could verify every detail, except she didn't see the girl in the mirror when I did, but she believed me when I told her right away, since she had experiences of her own in the house. And then somebody else asked, how'd they find out it was built on a burial ground? And OP said, well, they're in their 80s and have lived there for decades, and the small town itself has so much history. It's in Oregon, so the knowledge of its history has been passed down. So not a lot of specific information, but nonetheless, it is a very spooky story.
Yeah, that was another good one. Very well done.
Per me or the
Both.
both?
Good,
Okay.
good selection and good storytelling
Great.
all around. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, before you move on, I gotta pop a death
Yeah, you popped that death.
because one, they're gonna sponsor us eventually if we pop enough deaths, and
Yep.
also my mouth is very dry.
I'm gonna
so
pop
we're
a
gonna
death too. Well, I already popped
yeah,
it,
you
but I'm
already
gonna
popped it. But
throw a death.
okay, I'm gonna make this obnoxiously loud for everyone to hear. I'm not gonna be that loud, but it's fine.
Oh, that was pretty crisp.
That
Might be
was
pretty
really,
loud.
really crispy. Liquid Death. We'll be in touch. All right, are you
can
ready?
I move on to the next story now?
Yeah, for your. Is this the email?
This is the email
submission. So we have fans before we even upload the first.
This is like one fan, I think. That's not like family or friends.
Yeah, we have one fan,
which is very much
now.
appreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to
one
everybody
fan.
who has responded and allowed us to read stories and given us their own stories.
Absolutely. And thank you, one fan.
Yeah. And this one fan is named Samantha Womack. I'll get into it. Good morning, dolls, she says. My name is Samantha, and I am an avid paranormal investigator here in my lovely state of Arkansas, mainly in the central Arkansas area. I just came across a post of yours. I guess I don't really have to share that. I just came across a post of yours asking to share a rarely told paranormal experience. This has to do with the very first house my parents were able to buy. The house itself was 75 years old at the time, and one of the oldest homes in my hometown of Bald Knob, Arkansas. The house sits across the street from one of the oldest Methodist churches in the town. Flash forward to 1995 when I was around 4 years old. I had a playmate, quotes, named Tommy. He was around my age, blonde hair, pale skin, blue eyes, and he was dressed in a white button-down shirt, brown tweed shorts, white knee socks, and black shoes. He was dressed as a child would have been dressed in 1920s to 40s era. I would also like to add in that neither of us have read this story, so this is also
Oh yeah, wait. So
a surprise
whenever you
to
said
me.
playmate, so it was like.
I think it was like imaginary friend.
Okay.
Because it was in like
that
quotations
makes a lot more
and
sense. Okay, understood.
Yeah. Tommy would play all over the house. However, he could never go outside with me to play. I could see Tommy clearly, however, no one else could. My parents and myself lived in that house until I was about 10 years old. During that time, I would often see Tommy in my room and around the house. I noticed as I got older, Tommy didn't. He stayed the same age of 4 years old. Now, let's flash forward to few years back. My father, being the historian that he is, and out of curiosity, decided to look up some history of our hometown of Bald Knob and the houses we lived in. So that very first house that my parents were able to afford was built in the early 1920s. That house was actually used as the original parsonage for the Methodist church across the street. In the house lived the pastor, his wife, and their 4 children. Well, during the 1920s, Bald Knob got hit badly with the Spanish influenza. Unfortunately, in the house, the pastor and his wife lost one of their children, a boy of 4 years old named Thomas, but was called Tommy. Turns out my bedroom in the house was the original nursery that poor Tommy passed in. I hope you enjoyed reading this, and if you ever need any more stories of paranormal experiences about my favorite investigations, please reach out. Stay spooky, dolls, the paranormal pinup.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's quite spooky.
Yeah. I mean,
Having an imaginary friend that's like not imaginary, because it's like,
yeah, you're a lot better than me, Samantha, because if that happened to me and this child wanted to be my playmate, I wouldn't be living in that house
she was
anymore.
also like 4 years old.
Don't care.
I mean, I think that if I was 4 and I saw another seemingly
Okay, yeah, so
4-year-old,
like
I would
if the
love
child
that.
was child appearing, right?
Yeah.
And didn't like if I couldn't tell that it was a ghost and I was 4 years old, then sure. But if I'm 21 years old and I see that,
Well, of course.
and I hope Samantha, well, you're a paranormal investigator, so I'm assuming that you would embrace that in your household and want to live there, and I
Mm-hmm.
applaud you for that because that's not something I could ever do. I don't care, like, if it's a friendly spirit and it doesn't really show itself, that's a different thing. But if you're like, if I'm constantly seeing figures and like,
Oh, yeah, no. Dark
that,
figures, shadowy figures, all that.
yeah, no, that's not.
Well, it seemed, by the way she was telling the story, that the child seemed very friendly. Like, it was not like a scary kind of feeling, you know? It
Yeah.
seemed like the kid was just very lonely,
And that's
probably.
what's wonderful about being a child is you're open to those things and you
Mm-hmm.
don't really let them bother you.
Yeah. Like, she said she didn't even realize till she was like 10 years old that the kid was never aging. She probably
Yeah.
just always thought that he was just her friend.
Did we go one story too far before we got into our video?
What do you mean?
How many stories do we have? We have 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you read number 3? Oh, well.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when you don't know what you're doing. But it's okay. So
Well, how long have we been telling stories for?
how long have we been telling
Yeah.
stories for? There's no telling. Actually, I could tell you.
Yeah, I mean,
34 minutes minus however long it took us to get through all of our
that was like at least
bloopers
10
at the
minutes,
beginning.
probably.
I don't know about 10 minutes,
I
but
think so.
so we have an idea to just have like a little video segment in the middle of
Oh,
the
yeah, I
episode.
forgot about that. That's why you were asking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so the video that I have is, it's a very basic and I think well known, maybe not, but anyway, my mom sent it to me. Thanks, Mom. And it's basically this guy, for those who aren't watching and are just listening, it is this guy who is in his Tesla. And as much as I don't like Teslas, the video is still pretty cool. And they are sitting in a graveyard, driving through a graveyard, whatever. And they had the little GPS sensor thing up on the Tesla, and little human avatar things are popping up on the GPS when there's obviously nobody there. Like, he's showing you the outside of the truck and the screen at the same time, and so it is a little bit unsettling. There may be
Did
also.
you say truck? Is it a Cybertruck?
I think it's a cyber. Well, I don't know if like they look different on the inside. All I know is like it has like the
Okay.
big screen in it. It could be a Cybertruck. It could be Type S, Type whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, for those of you that are watching, let's take a look at it.
Let's do it.
So we're in a cemetery in the Cybertruck, and somebody says if you come to the cemetery, the cameras pick up ghosts.
There is one.
Holy shit! It is seeing stuff. Did you see it?
Yes. Yes.
Look, it is pulling.
It is.
It is pulling stuff up. Look
It
at
is,
that.
dude.
That shit's creepy. Look
Oh
at
my
that.
God. Jason,
And there's
God.
nobody there.
Nobody.
Look at this. What the hell? It's walking in front of the car. What is this? It's next to the car.
Oh my God.
Oh my God! Look, it's walking around. Oh, look, it's next to me. What the hell? There's nobody here. What the hell is this? Look, it's walking behind the car. Oh, what the heck is that? Whoa, look at this. It's got 2 now. 3, 4. What the heck is this? Man, this is weird. Look at. That's weird. That's weird. What are they doing? That's weird. There's nobody there.
I keep waiting for them to get back up there.
6 of them.
I know.
That's freaky. Look at
I
this.
cannot imagine
That's
sitting there and
weird.
like knowing that like there's spirits right next to you just like hanging out, but like not being able to see them.
Yeah.
Oh.
So whether or not it's real, and if it's just like a tech thing, it's in a Cybertruck, so it's creepy nonetheless. But I'm going to take. There are some comments here that were very interesting to me. Lots of skeptics, and I can be with them on that. One of the comments said that the GPS picks up that you're in a cemetery and is programmed to put a ghost around the car when people are in the cemeteries. It's just some programmer having fun with y'all. I don't think she knows what she's talking about. It's just some programmer having fun with y'all thing like that. I don't know. I need to be convinced more.
I think it's more fun to just assume that it's real.
I mean, yeah, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
I'm just being the skeptic that I am. Somebody said, "Don't worry, they won't get in. Even they wouldn't be caught dead in a Cybertruck." There was one comment. Oh yeah, I found it. Somebody said, "My grandfather passed last year in January. Ever since then, my Model 3 Tesla has seen someone standing on the porch randomly. Never used to happen before he passed either."
Oh.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So after seeing that comment, that made me like believe it a little bit more. I don't know the science behind like how these Tesla like detection systems pick up stuff, but what were you gonna say?
Well, it was kind of on that note. Like, I guess if they're meant to pick up on like energy, right? Like moving around,
I guess.
then it's probably picking up the energy that's still like coming off of the spirits, I would guess. Something like that. But I also don't know how that technology works.
Yeah.
So
2 of them got into your car watching the screen with you. If you look in the rearview mirror, you will see them. What? Yeah. I thought this would be a good video to
Yeah.
start off this type of segment with because,
it's a creepy concept.
yeah. And
Like, I know that if I were, not that I would ever be in a Cybertruck.
or a Tesla in general.
I know we're hating on the Cybertrucks a lot, but
And I'm not apologetic. We're not going to hate on a lot of things on this show, but your dishwasher on wheels is one of them.
But if I were in that position and I saw human figures walking around me when it never usually does that, I would be freaking out. I'd probably start crying.
Yeah, so I think the best way to investigate that, creator, if you're listening, and if you are, I'm sorry, not sorry for talking bad about your Cybertruck. Just go to as many cemeteries as you can.
I was gonna say, or
And-
drive around to like different parts of the cemetery.
Because there's no
or-
way that if the answer are these programmers, engineers, whatever you want to call them, if that is the answer, there's no way that they... Well, I don't know, man. Okay, I'm going to quit being a skeptic. I think if it's picking up the spirits or the energy, that's super cool. And
Mhm.
I have seen other videos like that before, but
Really?
it is solely like a Tesla thing, I guess, because Tesla's the only one that
Well.
like does the little people thing.
Well, I guess I don't know.
But also to be a skeptic again, even though I said I was going to stop, I've seen a lot of videos of the Tesla like detection system like that acting up really badly and like not in a spooky way, like
yeah, well,
glitching out a whole lot and like I don't
yeah,
know.
I feel like a lot of technology in Teslas is like kind of unreliable anyway, but
Yeah.
that's besides the point. It's a cool video.
So that is our video segment. I don't know if it's going to have a name. We're not that creative. Maybe eventually. I don't know. But yeah, we'll do a video or two every podcast and just try to switch it up a little
Yeah.
bit. I'm going to take a sip of my liquid death. How many times
Really
do we have to
pushing
say
this.
liquid death for them to sponsor us?
Maybe we should do an experiment.
I really just want one of your liquid death mini fridges or liquid
He has
death
been talking about these mini fridges for days straight.
or I don't know, your cornhole boards or I don't know, anything?
Yeah, literally today, he sat there and he scrolled through all of your merch and he ended
no,
up
like-
saying, I just want all of it.
Legitimately, whoever like your merch design team is, applause to you because legitimately some of the coolest merch I've ever seen, not just like when it comes to beverages, but just in general. And the way y'all market stuff is really cool. And I'm not just
Yeah.
buttering you up.
In
I mean
all
it.
seriousness, though, we have been liquid death drinkers for a while now.
Yeah, I think I actually
So,
discovered Liquid Death on another podcast.
really.
I think it was like one of Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer's. Shout out to y'all as well. Sponsor us. I know you can't really do that, but you know what I mean. But yeah, we've been liquid death drinkers for
Yeah.
a while now.
I'll reveal my liquid death story about how they saved my life if they sponsor us.
If
when the day comes.
and only if
Yeah.
you sponsor
They
us.
saved your life,
Liquid
too.
Death legitimately saved both of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Being
will
for real.
and we will tell you that story if and when there's a mini fridge on my front porch. Or
Oh my God.
however the sponsorship works. I don't know. Just hit me up. odetoghostspodcast@outlook.com. All right. We're going to move on
Moving on.
to our last story of the first ever episode of Ode to Ghosts. And this one comes from a dear friend of ours. He's a Texan. He's a
Who,
good
by the
boy.
way, was there when liquid death saved our lives.
He was there when... Okay, wait. I just now realized what you were talking about, and I thought you were just making this up
Are
the
you
whole time.
serious?
And I was like, yeah, we will tell you if you sponsor us, and we'll make
No,
something up. No,
I'm
I
being
100%
serious.
remember now. So yeah, this comes from a good friend of ours. He was there when liquid death legitimately saved our lives. And it's a camping/hiking story that he has for us. And you guys are going to sit here and wait while I pull it up because I wasn't prepared.
Not prepared on the very first episode. Really?
That's kind of expected.
You gotta be on your game, man.
So he was in South. I'm guessing it's Llano instead of Llano because it's two L's. Llano, South Llano State Park in Texas. He's not really sure what trail the campsites were on, though, because he was doing walk in, walk out. What's it called? Like when you hike to where you're camping. Anyway, that's besides the point. So this is the story, and he originally told us the story when we were in the middle of the desert in Texas,
New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
It was like
At night.
like 1 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
maybe, and we were just telling scary stories.
Yeah, it was silent in the middle of the desert. And
Yeah.
It's dark, scary.
We weren't as far out, like you could see cars and stuff driving by, but it was still far out enough
It was-
where
Yeah, I mean, you could see like faint headlights, but it wasn't anything like we were near a road or anything.
yeah. Okay. So
Anyways.
even though I've heard this story before, it still freaks me out because we enjoy camping, and if something like this ever happened, I would maybe never go camping again. All right. So I went camping at a hike out, that's what it's called, hike out site, in March of 2023. The campsite was roughly a mile away from where I parked my truck, and the trail going to it was a popular hiking and birdwatching trail during the day. Keep birdwatching in your mind. At around 5-ish, when the sun was starting to get low, I sprained my wrist and decided to go to the nearest town to get some Tylenol. While hiking out to the truck, I passed many hikers and birdwatchers, one of which had no flashlights or lanterns, so I just assumed he'd be heading back when the sun went down. He was a short, bald man with a cold gaze and binoculars and no camping gear. By the time I returned to the trail parking lot, the sun had gone down and there were clouds rolling in to cover up the stars, so it was getting dark rather fast. So I turned on a small lantern I had. It wasn't very bright, but it got the job done. For the first half mile, I didn't see anyone hiking back out to the parking lot, so I assumed everyone had either gone home or set up a camping site. At around that half-mile point, I heard footsteps coming up the trail, but couldn't see any light source other than my own. So he was at the point now, like, he could barely see his hand in front of his face. The same birdwatcher from earlier came walking down the trail, heading towards the parking lot. No light source, no way to see in the dark. And he says again, with the cloud cover, I could barely see my hand in front of my face, so it was creepy enough that he didn't have any light. I nodded at him as we passed, and he just stared and continued walking. Not even a quarter mile later, I saw the same man walking in the same direction, back to the parking lot. The trail didn't loop around, so unless he ran through the woods back up the trail, I have no clue how he passed me going the same direction twice, let alone without a light.
I hate that so much.
The woods stayed very quiet for the rest of the night.
Yeah, even though we've already heard the story, it still freaks me out just as much.
Gives me
Like,
chills. And I wish legitimately all of you could have been there in that moment to experience hearing that story for the first time, because it is life altering when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're telling stories like that, and anything can happen at any time. But yeah, I just like, obviously, if it was a spirit or what have you, it wasn't a bad energy or anything. But regardless, like, my theory, okay, remember I said we're going to create some theories here.
yeah.
That's
Let's
what
get the theories rolling.
I think it was a birdwatcher, hiker, or whatever that died on that trail at some point, which, I mean, I guess that's not really a theory. That's, like, probably makes sense to most people into paranormal stuff. And he is just living out his days as a ghost, watching birds and doing his thing. And
Well,
yeah.
hopefully he is a spirit that died and is now every day doing what he loved, and wasn't some like
And wasn't
person
in,
that
like,
got dragged out there like,
an
hey,
American
come
Horror
bird
Story
watching.
situation where, like, you get trapped in the hotel and
Yeah.
you can never leave.
Yeah, or like the Coven one where it's like you can get banished to like your personal hell.
Yeah, like your nightmare
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, so hopefully
Hopefully he was an actual bird watcher who loved to do that, and not some like somebody who got dragged out there by someone else who wanted to
Yeah, and I
birdwatch.
honestly think if it was a situation of he got dragged out there,
out there.
he got dragged out there, and he wasn't doing what he wanted to be doing, the spirit would be
A little bit more angry.
a little bit more angry.
taking
Yeah.
it out on people.
And so I think we're gonna go with
he
the
died
good
doing
answer.
what he loved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a way to end the story on a good note,
Yeah, I think
because it's really creepy, but
it is very creepy, and I think sometimes you do have to look for
mm-hmm.
the little happy
Yeah,
moments.
he wasn't doing anything wrong. He meant no harm. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
What if he was the reason that he sprained his wrist? Shoved him over.
Do you remember how he said? Didn't he?
I don't
he like fell.
remember.
He didn't fall off a cliffside because he would have died probably.
Fell off a cliff.
But I think he said he like
I don't remember.
slid down like a rocky slope or
It was
something,
probably
and
something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our stories, huh?
That is.
I hope we're not boring.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, if the stories aren't boring, then I guess.
Yeah.
Before we end this little thing, I do want to give some thanks. I want to have Thanksgiving right now.
Yeah. We want to give thanks.
Obviously, want to start off by thanking Liquid Death,
Who has not
sponsored us yet, but they will. But no, seriously, John Guarineri, he is not the reason why the podcast exists, but the reason why we have this platform. And he is putting his faith in us and trust in us, and we're very grateful for that. No, I'm not hitting on you. I know you probably think I am. But if you don't know who he is, number one, he's the security director for the terrible band Shinedown. They're just the worst.
Ugh. Worst band ever.
Worst band ever.
Why would you even say their name?
Probably going to get censored
Boo.
now. And he is... he has the network of podcasts under Spear Talk. And he has done so many amazing things with that platform, and hopefully this will be another one of those amazing things. I also want to thank Nando, and the fact that we even get to work with him. He's a graphic designer. He has designed all of Shinedown's pick designs and all that good stuff, and he is an incredible artist, and he is doing our logo, he's doing our thumbnails, he's doing our banner, he's doing everything for us. And I am not creative in that way, and you claim to not be creative in that way. And so we are very grateful to you as well, Nando, for being willing to open your arms to some amateurs and to both of you, taking us in and just letting the young ones shine a little bit.
Yeah, we just came up with this idea like
2 weeks ago?
Was it even 2 weeks ago?
I don't know. But we were just on a drive.
Well, yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago. We were listening to, shout out, Two Hot Takes.
Two Hot Takes podcast.
Yes.
With Morgan.
We
awesome.
were listening to one of their scary stories editions, and we just sparked the idea of having our own little podcast dedicated to just spooky stories.
And then I was like, I have
Yeah.
a way to make this even better.
Yeah.
And so I hit up John and I was like, hey.
Within the day.
Yeah,
it was like
within
the
like 30
night.
minutes.
Yeah.
He responded to me and I was like, hey, I think we should add this podcast to your network and try to attract maybe a younger audience. That has a very negative connotation to it, but I don't mean it in that way. But
I don't think
I know
does.
he wants to grow, and we want to grow, and that's what we're trying to do. And
yeah,
I'd say it went pretty good for our first ever time talking into microphones for
I think so too.
a while. So yeah, thank you, Liquid Death. Thank you, John. Thank you, Nando.
Thank you.
Also,
everybody.
I haven't pointed these guys out yet, but Ghost Energy, I know you're talking to John.
All
I know
right,
who you
let's-
are. This is literally Ode to Ghost, okay? There's no better marketing plan than this, okay?
I would also like to point out that this is also, in all seriousness, that he like literally started shaking out of excitement when he tasted that flavor.
Oh, the
It was
cherry
that one,
limeade?
right? Yeah, at Sheets when you got it and
I
you were
started
like,
shaking.
well, sometimes you do that thing where you like taste it and you're just like, ugh, you know.
Yeah, so
You were very excited
this
about it.
episode is not all about
I
like,
was gonna
calling,
say
like,
maybe we shouldn't be like
celebrating brands and stuff, but Ghost, your flavor profiles are absolutely incredible. Cherry limeade tastes exactly how I anticipated it to. Every flavor I've ever tried by you has tasted exactly how I've anticipated it to, and how anybody else should anticipate it to taste, because we all have the same taste buds. So
this
yeah,
is
thank
so
you.
funny. We're just like really this half of this video is gonna be us just like begging people to sponsor us.
Yeah, I don't think it's begging. I just think, listen, I think that
Liquid Death, you saved my life, please.
I think that Liquid Death and Ghost are even though they're both beverages, they are the two best possible sponsors for this podcast. Death, Ghost. Okay?
Liquid.
And I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I
All right.
agree.
Yeah, okay. I think it's time for us to shut up now, and
Okay.
yeah. I
Shutting
think
up.
that's going to do it. And every Wednesday, 7 p.m., more scary stories for you. Doesn't have to be
Yes.
paranormal. Doesn't have to
Just
be paranormal.
has to be creepy. Just has to
be
have
creepy.
a kind of like a weird
Vibe. It can, if you want to send us stuff about aliens, we want to
Yeah.
get into aliens.
in
The
the future.
unexplained.
Yes, in the future we plan on having themed episodes that have different like we
Themes.
talked yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
For clarifying, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, like aliens, Appalachian lore, which would be
That's gonna
super
be-
fun because we live in the Appalachian
And
Mountains.
also very scary because there are woods right outside, and
Yeah.
we're within the like you said.
So yeah, please scare us very hard with your Appalachian stories because then I can be really scared the next time I go out into the woods.
And we want this to be for anybody. Like, I am somebody who does not enjoy being scared, but look at where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah, it is like, what time is it? It's like probably almost midnight at this point. Maybe not that
What?
late. What time is it? It's 11 o'clock at night.
I mean, it's not crazy.
And we're talking about
But
ghosts and stuff. But yeah, you were saying we want this to be for everybody.
Yeah, so even if you do get a little bit spooked, like myself, it's okay. Just come, enjoy, sit
Yeah.
back and relax. Whether you're driving to work, you're at work, which, I mean, I'm not going to encourage that depending on where you work, but I do that sometimes. Wherever you are.
Yeah, this is a safe space for everybody except for people who drive Cybertrucks.
Except for...
You can let me rephrase that. You can come listen as long as you're okay with being made fun of sometimes.
Yeah, like, and if you haven't realized by now that you're driving a dishwasher on wheels...
or a refrigerator or...
Yeah, literally anything. Okay.
An appliance.
All right. Enough slander.
Anyways.
Thanks, guys, for
Yes,
joining
thank
us on
you.
this first episode, and we will see you
Hope
next
to
time.
see you next week.